June. We're not going to see you for a couple of months, but I'll breathe through it. So here we are, the last Sunday in June, and we've been just riding the waves of change all month long. We talked about changing our thinking in the first week and changing our life the second week, and Joe last week talked about catching the waves of change, and so today's talk is about riding the wave. So it did not surprise me that I officiated at a wedding at the beach yesterday. The Spirit is just like that, you know. These talk titles have been in place for like 6 months, I think, but I officiated at a beach wedding yesterday morning, and it was just beautiful. It was just delightful, and it made me laugh because I thought, yeah, well, that's the one mind of God, you know, just pointing out why I chose that title. I don't know. But I was looking at the waves, and I was thinking about the talk that I had, you know, at home, and I was going to go back afterward and kind of just put the finishing touches on it and tinker with it a little bit. And it just really brought home for me this whole idea of waves of change. You know, waves of change, riding the waves of change. And I think that more than anything else, I saw the surfers out there and they were having fun with it. You know, they were having fun with it. And it really reminded me that life is not meant to be a drag. Life is not meant to be morose and struggle and strife and endurance. It's not meant to be an endurance contest. It's not meant to be sad or a struggle. We make it that, but that's not Spirit's intention for us. Spirit is love and joy and fulfillment and abundance and beauty and balance, and that's what we're being offered. And so how much of that do we take? How much do we accept that offer? You know, God is abundance and beauty and balance and love and peace and power and unity and wisdom and all of those qualities. And how much of that are we willing to remember that is the truth of us also? That is the truth of us also. And sometimes when we hold on to our struggle, we're the only ones carrying that weight. You know, and it would just be such a relief to let it go. So why do we hang on to it? You know, because we forget who we are. We forget who we are. We forget the truth of our own divinity. You know, there's a book, Richard Rohr's latest book, Falling Upward, I think? Yeah, Falling Upward. And he had this little story in the book, and I thought it was wonderful. He said, parents bring home their new baby, and they have a 4-year-old daughter. And the 4-year-old daughter insists on talking to the newborn alone. Nobody else listening. And so parents are like, okay. And so they leave the kids alone, and they retreat from the room, but only far enough, because they stand in the doorway, and they want to really eavesdrop just a little bit. And the daughter gets really, really close to the newborn baby and whispers in the baby's ear, quick, tell me where we came from and why we're here. I'm beginning to forget. I'm beginning to forget. And that's what happens, I think, as we grow older. We begin to forget. We begin to forget why we're here, where we came from and why we're here. And so we have to keep reminding ourselves of that truth. We have to keep reminding ourselves of the beauty and the balance and the peace and the power and the order and the wisdom and all of those things that we are. That is what we are. That's not stuff we have or we can get or we can find, or they'll, you know, if we read enough self-help books, we'll somehow accumulate it. It is the truth of who we are. And so when I was watching those surfers out on the ocean yesterday, I was thinking about the waves. I was thinking about the infinite number of waves that there are in the ocean. We have an infinite number of waves to ride. They just keep coming and coming and coming. You know, when those surfers sit out there, oh, and by the way, this is purely by observation only, because I tried surfing once or twice in my entire life. So everything I'm going to share about surfing, I just learned by observation only. It was like putting a Weeble on a file, you know, it just like, I couldn't stay up on those things. Are you kidding me? Anyway, so while I'm watching those surfers out there on their boards, a wave comes along, and a group of them will try for the same wave, right? And some don't make it. Some get out in front of it and ride it all the way to the shore. Some start riding the wave with others, and then they turn off, right? They decide that wave is not for them. Some of them take the wave and crash and burn, right? They wipe out. But what happens is whether they've wiped out or turned off, or whether they rode the wave all the way into the shore, what happens? They turn around, they go right back out again. And they wait for the next wave. And there's always a next wave. I mean, even if the ocean goes flat for the day, right? Then they're out tomorrow, or the day after that. There's always another. The waves keep coming, because there is an infinite number of waves. There'll always be another wave. Even if the surfer thinks he missed the best wave ever, there's always going to be another wave. And it might even be better than the one he thought, or she thought, was the best wave ever. And I thought, what a wonderful object lesson for us, is that there is always another wave. There's always another opportunity. Spirit is always showing up in our lives as another way to do whatever it is that's in our heart to do. There's always another opportunity. There's always another door opening. There's always another window opening if the door doesn't. There's always another opportunity to express. You know, if we miss the mark, if we miss the wave, if we saw that it was the greatest wave ever, and we missed it, we were too late, or someone else caught the top, or whatever, we just don't go home and never surf again as long as we live. No, we just go back out and wait for the next wave. And that's such an object lesson for us. You know, if we miss the mark, like the archery term that they use in the Bible, right? If we miss the mark, we don't just give it up and walk away. We go back to aiming again. We go back to the craft. We go back to our art. We go back to whatever it is we're doing. And we do it again. And we do it again. And there's another opportunity for us to catch the next wave. Because Spirit is forever giving. It is forever giving to us. And it is up to us to take the opportunity, to take the advantage, to take the next wave. You know, I think it was, Benjamin Franklin, who said, we are entitled to the pursuit of happiness. We're entitled to the pursuit of happiness, but we have to catch it ourselves. We can pursue it all day long. And that's what the waves are about. It's about, you know, choosing which wave you're going to go for. Which wave are you going to go for? There's an infinite number of waves out there. Which one is going to excite you and you're going to grab onto and you're going to just ride all the way in? There is an infinite number of them. So we will try some. We will turn off on others. Some we'll take and it'll wipe us out and we'll crash. Some will ride the crest all the way in and it'll be the most fabulous ride of our lives. And then what? And then we get to do it again. Then we get to do it again. You know, here's the thing about it is whether we crash, whether we ride, whether we turn off and decide to choose another wave instead, there's always something to learn from that ride. There is always something to learn. The one that we rode the crest all the way in told us something about ourselves. The one where we just crashed and wiped out, that also tells us something. We learn from the good rides, and we learn from the wipeouts. Sometimes I think we learn more from the wipeouts. But it's important not to blame the wave. Don't blame the wave for the crappy ride. Don't blame the wave for the good ride. I mean, don't credit the wave either way. We just need to learn from it. Ernest Holmes, in Can We Talk to God, he said this. He said, to believe that we are continuously guided in our acts by a supreme intelligence is a better state of mind and more productive of good than to believe we are subject to the caprice of fate. Our fate is within our own minds. Destiny is but the objective manifestation of subjective mental states. Success and failure are not things of themselves. They are simply modes of expressing the one thing. Thoughts should be daily directed and consciously controlled. Daily directed, and consciously controlled, which means you don't blame the wave if you wipe out. You don't blame the people, places, and things around you because you're not happy. You don't blame the government because it's abusive. You don't blame your boss because he's mean to you. You don't blame your family, your parents, because they didn't do the job, raising you that they were supposed to. All of the blaming can temporarily comfort us. We shift the blame onto something else, people, places, and things around us, and that can temporarily comfort us. But it doesn't solve the problem. And what happens is we change jobs, or we change locations, or we change partners, and what do? We recreate the exact same challenge, only in a different body. You keep dating the same person over and over again because you have always put it out there on the other people. Well, if he wasn't so rotten, I'd be happy, or whatever. And so then you keep attracting the same guy. He just looks different. He's got a different hair color, different eye color. He's taller, shorter, whatever. But the relationship winds up being the same because you're still putting out that energy of what's wrong. What's wrong? So then we come to a thought. We come to a consciousness study like this. We come to a faith tradition like this one where we're taught not what to think, but we're taught how to think. We facilitate how do you look at your life, and if it's not working for you, then what do you want to change it into? If that thought that's not serving you is not serving the you are today, what do you want to replace it with? And so we learn to think different thoughts. Now the first part of that is we go from blaming everybody outside of us, people, places, and things all over. We come to a faith tradition like this, and then what do? We start blaming ourselves. Oh, what was I thinking that created this? Oh, what was I thinking that created that? So we really haven't shifted out of the victim mode. We have just stopped blaming everything out there, and then we start blaming ourselves, right? And so it's still that victim mentality, but now it's just turned in on ourselves. What was I thinking to, create the broken leg? Or what was I thinking that I got into that car accident? Or how did I, And then we move out of that also. And then we shift out of that and we stop taking the blame and we start taking the responsibility. We start taking the responsibility because we can't change anybody else out there anyway. So blaming them is not going to help. We start taking responsibility for our own choices. Okay. It's nobody else's fault I'm where I am. Maybe it is somebody else's fault. Maybe I had no control over the situation I was in. However, it is my responsibility to make a choice about that situation. It's my responsibility to make a choice about that. And that is the only way we can make change in our lives. So we're not talking about taking the blame for things. We're talking about taking the responsibility. Absolutely. That's how we proceed with life. So we change the things that we can change. And the biggest thing that we can change is our consciousness. It's the first and only place that change is going to happen in our lives. Everything starts in consciousness. So we make those changes, we ride those waves. Ernest Holmes, change your thinking, change your life. When we change those thoughts, then the out-picturing will change. It will change. Life contains everything. We are here to experience everything, the highs and the lows. Our spirit knows we're not alone. Our spirit is absolutely knowing its oneness as God, and it's stuffed inside of our bodies, right? That seed of perfection that is nestled within us, that knows the truth about who we are. And our soul just wants to experience everything. It wants to experience the highs and the lows and the challenges and the rewards and everything that life has to offer. And it's all there for us. And we need to enjoy the ride. To enjoy the ride. That's why we're here. Whether we're in the crest of the wave we're riding in one particular adventure, or in the next adventure we wind up in the trough. We wind up down there at the bottom of the wave, and the wave is maybe covering over. Maybe we wipe out on that one. The soul is craving the experience. The soul of us is craving the experience The soul is not busy judging it. Oh, that was good, that was bad. Let's do more of this, let's do less of that. That's us doing that. We're the ones who constantly and continuously judge. Judge our own experiences, judge other people's experiences, judge other people's clothing, judge, the entire thing as good or bad or better or worse. Our soul is just craving the experience and not judging it. So when we're doing the highs or doing the lows, it doesn't matter. It's like the two rails for the train. It's like the train tracks. The positive and the negative are there all along. It's there all along. It accompanies us through life. Which rail are you going to concentrate on? Which one is going to take your attention? The positive or the negative? We get to choose that. We get to choose which is going to take our attention. When we surf, what are we going to concern ourselves with? The crest of the wave or the trough of the wave? What are we going to focus on? What are we going to keep holding in our minds? What are we going to remember after the day is over? The crests of the waves we rode or the troughs we wiped out in? What are we going to hold in our memory about the day, about the wave? What are we going to set our intentions on? The crests of the wave or the trough? Where are we going to put our attention? Because we get to decide that. Even though both exists in the wave, we get to decide where we're going to place our attention. On the crests or in the troughs. Ernest Holmes gave a talk on March 26th in 1950. And it was called How to Solve Your Problems. Don't you love that? See? We just needed to listen to that. We never have to come back again. And he said this, I shall have to start by learning to control my thinking and control my thoughts in such a way that the divine guidance can flow through me to the solution of any problem I have. Therefore, instead of thinking of my problems, I must think of their answers. Instead of saying, I have a problem and I don't know what to do about it, we affirm, I have an opportunity for self-expression and God knows what to do about it. Do you feel how empowering that is? You want me to say that again? I have an opportunity for self-expression and God knows what to do about it. What a great way to meet a challenge. You want to say that? Why don't you say that? I have an opportunity for self-expression and God knows what to do about it. That is a wonderfully empowering statement. So if we're concerned with falling off the wave, because I know that's where I was when I tried that surfing thing once or twice, and I can roll off a surfboard really easily. I can. Reminded me of skiing. I should have just, strapped it to my butt, because that's where I spent all my time. But if we're worried about falling off the surfboard, if that's where our consciousness is, if we're concerned with the sharks under the water we can't see, the hidden dangers, if we're concerned about that all the time, if we are preoccupied with whether or not this particular wave is going to give us the ride that we desire, we are missing out on the fun of the ride. We are missing out on the experience in the here and now. Because we're all concerned about what if. And all of those things that we worry about, most of them don't happen anyway. And then we miss the ride. We miss the ride that we're having. And it's the only ride we've got. This present moment is the only time that there is. It's the only time we have. And we are missing it if we are somewhere else in our mind. Our soul is craving that experience. For better, for worse, for crest or for trough. Our soul is just craving the ride. And it's up to us to provide that openness, to provide that experience for us. When we're carrying the weight of fear, when we're carrying the weight of past disappointments or regrets or worry of the future, when we're carrying all of that around, it fatigues us in the present moment. Sometimes those days when you can't go to the bank and the supermarket on the same day because you're exhausted, it's because you're in the past and you're in the future simultaneously. You're everywhere, but in the present moment. And the present moment is the only place where you have your power. The strain of constant judgment weighs us down. And we're not enjoying the ride. We're just not enjoying it. When we let go of our expectations of how the ride should be, what it should look like, how long it should take, what it should feel like when we're doing it, when we let go of all of those expectations around our experience, we get to enjoy the experience. We just get to enjoy it. And that's what riding the wave is about. When we put down all the should-bes and must-bes and has-to-bes and why aren't theys, and just experience the ride, we're in the present moment. We're in the present moment, and we're in our power. Saint Catherine of Siena said this. She said, "Be who God meant you to be, and you will set the world on fire." Be who God meant you to be, and you will set the world on fire. And that's what riding the wave is about. That's what riding the wave is about. Bringing your full attention into that experience, regardless of what it is. I mean, it doesn't have to be waves. It could be skiing. It could be creating music. It can be doing whatever it is you're doing in the moment. Bring it on. Bring all of your energy to it. Bring all of your happiness to it. Bring all of your joy to it, because that is the only moment we have. The only moment we have. Ernest Holmes said this. He said, "The simplest approach is always the most direct. Believe and it shall be done. Accept and it shall be done. Convince the mind and no longer deny the greater possibility. Act as though I am and I shall be. We must abandon our ideas to a supreme cause and wait for the harvest time with joyful expectancy. I know it's handled, and I'm waiting with joyful expectancy." I love when he says that. "We should feel as though the entire power of the universe were for us and never against us. All conversation to the contrary must be resolutely set aside." You know what that means? That means no more water cooler conversation, guys. No more ain't it awful, you know? No more participating in, it's the economy, it's this, it's that. It's all of that negativity. It means setting that aside, resolutely setting it aside. Remember that mental treatment is neither wishing nor willing. It is an affirmation of the presence. The power and the willingness of the divine law to specialize itself as us, to meet every human need. It is not though human determination, nor by power, nor by might, but by the silent workings of the Spirit, through organized thought, that the divine imparts its power to us. We are the chemists in the laboratory of the infinite. What are you going to produce? What are you going to produce? Change your thinking, change your life, catch the wave, ride it for all you're worth, and then, whether you wipe out, or whether you ride it to shore, or whether you turn off that particular wave and go, nah, that one was not for me, go back and wait for the next one, because there's always going to be a next one. And that self-expression is going to reveal itself. It is going to reveal itself. Live the life that God intended us to give, and we set the world on fire. Even in the water. Even in the water. Ride the wave. Don't judge it. Don't judge each other. Don't judge anything about it. Just live, just ride, just enjoy, give your soul that experience. Whether we wipe out, whether we ride the crest, whether we fall, there's always another wave. There's always another wave. There's always another opportunity for Spirit to reveal itself as us. There's always another opportunity. There's always another door. There's always another window. It's an exciting, exciting life.